Are the Lions getting ready for a big season from their tight end? We talk about it on a Monday at Locked On Lions.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Matt Derry with you. It is a Monday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Indeed, your team every day on a Monday, June 26th and a Tuesday, June 27th. Thanks for checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day here on Locked On Lions. And we shout out our everydayers. Those of you that check out the podcast, we appreciate you being with us. We are brought to you today by our good friends. We love them at FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbooks, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Make every moment more by visiting FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. You can follow me on Twitter at Derry Speaks, DERY Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter, the Matt Derry Facebook fan page. And as always, a shout out to those of you watching on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Coming up on the show today, I want to get into a little bit of a Sam Laporta discussion. George Kittle, fellow Iowa Hawkeye tight end, has some strong words about his fellow, now NFL tight end on the Lions' second-round pick, Sam Laporta. We'll get into that. Evidence of a culture change. Chauncey Gardner Johnson speaking out on the difference between, where he was in Philly and where he is in Detroit, which is mind-boggling to me because we're just not used to hearing all this positive talk coming from Allen Park, but it's happening. And also today, I saw something on SI.com, All Lions with John Macaroon, about the Lions maybe making a trade for a wide receiver. And what about some free agents that are still out there? Would they be fits for the Lions? Why I think none of that's going to happen. All of that today right here on Locked On Lions. Again, thanks for making us your first listen. If you're new to the podcast, welcome in. Always welcome your comments on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel and as well on Twitter and everything else. Again, we are just a month or so from training camp, and the positivity that's flowing about this football team, the excitement level around this football team, and even with certain players not coming back, DJ Chark, who was a part of last year's team, and Jamal Williams and others, it's the young guys that everybody's excited to see. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, who, by the way, just got engaged over the weekend. There's viral video of Jack Campbell getting down on one knee and everything else. So shout out to Jack. And also the Lions' second-round pick, Sam Laporta, the tight end from Iowa. I've talked to numerous people that have said that they think after this season, the first season, that it will be clear that for 2023, the best pick, at least for the first year, for the Lions will be Sam Laporta, based on he can come right in and play right away. He's ready to go. He's playing in a premium position at tight end that Jared Goff and this Lions play action passing offense really, really like. And more positive sentiment in regards to Sam Laporta comes from none other than George Kittle, Pro Bowl tight end. I would say a top 2 tight end in the NFL, him and Travis Kelce, who had some pretty nice words to say about George Kittle, about Sam Laporta. And I want to play you those. This is George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers on Barstool Sports talking about Laporta and the sky kind of being the limit for this Lions offensive weapon. Take a listen to this.
Laporta is going to be fantastic. I think Laporta is the best tight end in the draft class. I think Lions got his complete steal. I like the other tight ends too. I spent 2 weeks training with Sam Laporta, and the way he moves.
He's got the dog.
Oh yeah, he's got the dog. He's kind of quirky. He's kind of goofy too. He's going to fit in well.
All right, there it was, courtesy of I think that was the Big Cat show. I forgot the name. Barstool Sports. George Kittle talking about Sam Laporta. Did you hear that? I mean, that is an established. That's one of the best tight ends in football. That is George Kittle is an absolute stud. Now, I understand. It's one man's opinion. They're fellow Iowa guys. I'm sure Sam Laporta or George Kittle says nice things about TJ Hawkinson and others. Noah Fant. I mean, all these tight ends that come from Iowa. But, quirky, a dog. Kittle spent some time with him. And the more I think about the pick and the more I see the pick, and obviously there were a lot of other very good tight ends in this draft, Dalton Kincaid and Michael Mayer and others. All right, this is a very good tight end draft, but I think the Lions got a really good one. And I love when I hear veteran players talk glowingly about some of the Lions' younger players and about the draft picks. And it just seems like to me, the Lions might have, I'm not saying hit a home run with this pick, but this could be a double in the gap. This could be a guy that right away comes in and fits this offense very, very well. And look, nobody questioned this move more than I did because I said to myself, Sam Laporta is good, but how come last year, for example, at Iowa, here's a guy that many thought could be mid to late second round pick. Why are the Lions taking him this early? And why did he only have one touchdown his last season at Iowa? And then you watch the tape, you see the run after the catch, you see the strength, you see the athleticism for a tight end. And you have to realize and remember again just how bad the Iowa offense was, especially their pass offense, and how they didn't utilize Laporta that well. And again, some of that is quarterback and how bad the Iowa quarterbacks have been over the last couple of years. And I'm not saying you put Sam Laporta in Michigan or Ohio State's offense and automatically has 8 or 9 or 10 touchdowns. But the Lions have something here. When you got a head coach that was a former tight end as well, and you've got an offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, you hear players like George Kittle talk about the work ethic and the dog and just the athleticism and everything else. It's exciting. And last year's offense was really good. It was a top 5 offense. But now you're going to have Jamison Williams, and I know it doesn't start until week 7. You're going to have a home run threat in Jahmyr Gibbs. You've got David Montgomery, who both out of the backfield and when the ball is being handed off to him, really, really good and reliable. Something DeAndre Swift was not. You return your entire offensive line, and you've got the right guard in Vaitai that you signed up for 3 years ago. And again, injuries could happen in training camp, knock on wood, and everything else. But this offense has a chance to be really, really good. And Sam Laporta has a chance. While the tight ends last year had their moments, Hawkinson before he was traded, Brock Wright in the Jets game, Zylstra in the Carolina game. James Mitchell was fine as a rookie. But Laporta has a chance to be so, so good. And because there's other weapons around him, and because Jared Goff feels comfortable, and because the scheme is good, this offense has a chance to be a top 3 offense. So I love hearing those kind of comments, and I'm excited to see how they include, how they involve Sam Laporta in this offense. I'm very, very excited about it. So this ought to be something that is going to be very, very good for years to come. And again, it's just rare that we're talking about the Lions this way. And I get it. Highly drafted tight ends lately have not panned out the way we thought. Yes, TJ Hawkinson had a Pro Bowl season. TJ Hawkinson was good. But was he top 10 good for where he was drafted? No. Eric Ebron, bust. Brandon Pettigrew, Butterfingers, never worked out. All right. His claim to fame was the Dallas playoff game with the pass interference. But Laporta, while he's not a first rounder, has a chance to be excellent. And yes, I'm excited about that. All right, coming up next, are these some moves that the Lions should make? We're going to get into what those moves are next. Baseball season is in full swing. There's no better place to get on the action if you want to bet on baseball than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to join. A lot of fun. It's easy. I got a lot of friends that are on the app all the time. It rolls off the tongue. Oh, yeah, I'm going to put some money down on this on FanDuel, whether it's the golf, whether it's the USFL, and, of course, baseball. Don't miss your chance to snag a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Locked On Lions for a Monday. Peter Bukowski, the host of the Locked On Packers podcast and very good friend of mine. Peter Bukowski is going to join us on Wednesday. We're going to find out what's going on in Green Bay. Do they think they can win this division? Is Jordan Love looking good in minicamp? All of that on Wednesday with the great Peter Bukowski from Locked On Packers. Cannot wait to talk to Sweet Pete. All right, so I saw something on All Lions on SI.com. John Macaroon and his crew do a great job there. And they wrote an article, or John did, about should the Lions pursue Hunter Renfro in a trade. Renfro, of course, is the Raiders' number 2 receiver. He was the number 1 receiver 2 years ago, caught a bunch of passes for over 1,000 yards. And Devontae Adams came into Vegas last year, and kind of Renfro's numbers went down a little bit. The kid is a baller. I'm a Renfro fan. And maybe the Raiders, knowing they just got Jacoby Myers from the Patriots, they got Devontae. Last year of his contract for Renfro, would the Raiders entertain a trade to, knowing they're probably not going to be able to re-sign him, and would that be something that the Lions should pursue? And I read this piece, and I'm not picking on John. I like John. But a lot of these articles, especially June, July, these come out about should Detroit do blank? Should the Lions pursue blank? Should the Lions trade for blank? And the Lions do have some money to spend still in free agency. There is some money under the cap for this team to make moves if they need to. If somebody gets injured, if all of these things, if they need to make some kind of a trade, whatever. I don't see it. And I understand the Lions have Marvin Jones and Antoine Green, their 7th round pick, and some other players that they're going to need to step up in the absence of Jamison Williams. And right now, if you look at this team and say which position group is maybe the weakest on the team, you could make an argument for wide receiver. I don't think that's the case still because of Amon-Ra St. Brown and how good he is. I still think the Lions, interior defensive lineman, maybe you could say, is the weakest. You could make an argument about linebacker because there's nobody that it just stands out. Although they feel good about their 1st round pick, they feel good about Rodrigo and Anzalone and Barnes. Receiver, you could make a case, but I think Amon-Ra St. Brown being their best player. Lions' best player is Amon-Ra St. Brown in part of that group. And yes, it's a bit weak right now with J-Mo not playing, but I don't see a scenario where the Lions are going to be making any kind of trades for Hunter Renfro. I just don't. Hunter Renfro is a slot guy and has a similar sort of background as Amon-Ra St. Brown, similar size, similar route running. And I don't see the Lions doing that. I think on one side you'll have Amon-Ra, and I think on the other side you'll have Laporta, and they'll kind of maneuver into other teams' secondaries like that. I don't think the Lions are going to be players for trades or do anything like that. I think if they were to trade for a wide receiver, wouldn't it be a deep threat, bigger outside guy, more of an X or a Z than what Renfro is? And don't get me wrong, I'm a Hunter Renfro fan going back to his days at Clemson. And it made me think about some of the other players that are available in free agency. And I've seen this, before, like, should the Lions go after blank? There are still some very good free agents unsigned here as of June 26th. DeAndre Hopkins. All right. If the Lions wanted DeAndre Hopkins, they would have tried to sign him. He didn't even come in for a visit. All right. He's visited Tennessee and New England and other places. Dalvin Cook's not coming here. Jadeveon Clowney is not a culture fit. He's not. Browns basically kicked him off the team. Why would he come here? Why would the Lions want him? Marcus Peters, the cornerback. These are kind of the top 10 guys. Ronald Darby, another corner. Don't see it. Lions have plenty of corners. Yannick Ngakoue, edge rusher, only 28, out of Indy. Played 1 season with the Colts. Colts don't exactly have a ton of edge rushers. They've got some decent ones, including Kwity Paye. But for the Colts to not even bring Ngakoue back should tell you something. Now, if there were to be an injury in training camp with Romeo Okwara or Charles Harris, I could maybe see a scenario, but I don't see the Lions pursuing Ngakoue yet. Zeke Elliott and Kareem Hunt. Lions don't need any more running backs. No. They're going to need to find touches for Gibbs and Montgomery and Craig Reynolds. Come on, Craig. Leonard Fournette, not happening. And Dalton Risner, the guard from Denver. Now, remember, Broncos have a new coach and Sean Payton in a new system and have been in need of some linemen. Remember Graham Glasgow they let go. But I don't see a scenario where the Lions are going after any of these players. Right? There's some good names on that list. But I think Brad Holmes is doing this right. He's got some young guys that are coming. He's got some veterans that have been brought in as depth pieces. And he wants to see what he has right now. I don't think the Lions are making any kind of big move at this time. Unless, again, you get to training camp, somebody gets hurt. The one name that I did not mention that is still on that list, that is also on that list, they didn't make the top 10, but they're in that second tier, is Teddy Bridgewater. The now 30-year-old backup quarterback. I could see a scenario where if Nate Sudfeld struggles and Hendon Hooker is nowhere near ready to even do anything but hold a clipboard, that Detroit would pursue a Teddy Bridgewater signing a little bit later on in training camp. But that's about it. That's the only scenario I see. I don't think, there were reports that the Lions offered him a deal. He hasn't taken it yet. Teddy Bridgewater is out there. But as of now, I don't see the Lions making any kind of moves until, again, we get to camp and there's maybe an opportunity that they would need to add a player, more out of desperation than anything else. That's the only scenario that I see that. All right, coming up next, CJ Gardner Johnson, one of the newest Detroit Lions. Very nice things to say about his time so far in Detroit. Evidence more of this culture change that has shifted here in Detroit. We'll do that coming up next. All right, so one guy that, definitely I think at times could be a little bit volatile, a little bit mouthy. The Lions have not had any players that are vociferous or trash talkers or anybody that is, they've been a squeaky clean operation for the last couple of years. It has been a lot of choir boys here. Chauncey Gardner Johnson is definitely not that type, but on a one-year contract and a player that has a lot of talent and is really going to help the secondary in kind of that hybrid role. I love the addition of Chauncey Gardner Johnson. Recently, he was, on Twitter doing his thing, and, an Eagles fan came at him talking about, you left Philadelphia for Detroit. What are you doing? That type of situation. This was at MK Sports Talk 1. This is an Eagles fan on Twitter, said, this guy was beloved in Philly. Now he's nothing but a constant clown that has Eagle envy. Took less money to go on a lesser team. Grass isn't always greener. Pun intended. And Gardner Johnson responded with, I got time today. STFU, which of course, for those of you that don't know, stands for shut the bleep up. I'm still beloved by the real ones, my G. Love was never lost. And grass is definitely greener, my G. My family straight. In all caps. That's from CGJXXIII on Twitter. Grass is definitely greener for Chauncey Gardner Johnson. Bear in mind, from a Super Bowl team, the Eagles went to the Super Bowl last year, and he's saying that grass is greener here. Pinch yourself, Lions fans. We got guys on this team that feel like, and that's just, I know it's just CJ defending himself on social media. But players that are willing to be here, that want to be here, that feel like this is a destination spot. Now, Gardner Johnson did not get a contract to his liking that was offered by the Eagles. Philadelphia had to pay Darius Slay. Philadelphia has a James Bradbury. All right. He was an odd man out there and they had to move on from him. I'm sure he wanted multiple years and a lot of money. It didn't happen. He instead settled on a one-year contract for just over $6 million to come to Detroit to reunite with Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn, future head coach, from New Orleans. But he's saying the grass is greener here. The Eagles last year mauled the rest of the NFC, mowed down the NFC to get to the Super Bowl. And yet here's a guy so excited about being here. He's going to stand up for this organization, for himself, hop on social media and say, grass is definitely greener here. If that's not evidence of a culture change, then I don't know what is. I don't know if it's going to work out with this guy. He could be a complete disaster. He could be a mouthy, personal foul king, and we could be saying, oh my gosh, can't wait till he's gone. It could happen. Right? He's had an up and down career. He played well last year. He was one of the better corners in the league. He was tied for the league lead in interceptions. I like the fit. He's on a 1-year deal to prove it. Might not work, but he's saying things are really good here. You're hearing that from veteran players here. And again, it starts at the very top. This organization's committed to winning. They're bringing in players, and they're all conforming to what Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, and this group is building. I think that's pretty awesome. There's your Monday edition of a Locked On Lions. Thanks for making this your first listen. Shout out to all of our everydayers who are out there. We are back again tomorrow.